Good day, and thank you for tuning in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast for all of our new listeners and viewers who are tuning in for the very first time. I'm Pastor Pope, and thank you for allowing us to come into your listening and viewing environment. I am Senior Pastor of New Life Christian Center, located at 400 Hillcrest Avenue in Wilmington, Delaware, 19809. So if you're ever in our area, we invite you to come and worship with us. Service begins at 10 a.m. We invite you to come and experience a better quality of life. And if you're not in our area, you can tune in for the Sunday sermon at 10:45 a.m. when we go live with the Sunday sermon on our YouTube channel at New Life Christian Center Pastor Pope. And of course, every Monday through Friday from 12 p.m. until 1 p.m. or 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, scheduling permitted. We are here with you live in 3D, broadcasting live from the FijiWater.com sponsored studio, where you can discuss careers, finances, entrepreneurship. You can discuss marriage, divorce, raising children, blending families. You can discuss dating and relationships, whatever's in your heart, whatever's on your mind. God is concerned about that which concerns you. So we are here with you in 3D every Monday through Friday from 12 p.m. until 1 p.m. or 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, scheduling permitted. And of course, every month we have with us our monthly contributor, Rebecca Buva, licensed and registered dietitian and nutritionist, who will be joining us today at 12:30 p.m. when you will have the opportunity to hear what Becca has to share with us for our health and wellness. So we're concerned about everyone being healthy in their body, mind, and spirit. So Becca is with us every month to share with us what we can do to enhance our health and wellness. And as always, as you know, the broadcast is brought to you by Fiji Water, Earth's finest water. You may already know that Fiji water comes from Fiji. However, did you know that it is created by nature? It is untouched by man. It starts as a tropical rainfall, which slowly filters through layers of volcanic rock, where the water collects in a natural, sustainable artesian aquifer, where it is bottled right at the source, free from human contact until you unscrew the blue cap. Fiji Water, Earth's finest water, will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery, and you will save money at FijiWater.com. This is not just ordinary water. This is Earth's finest water at FijiWater.com. And for those of you who continue giving on the gift segment of our app, New Life Delaware, and those of you that have made a weekly or monthly commitment to support the broadcast by giving on the contribution pages of our websites, New Life Ministries International.com and at New Life International CDC.com. We thank all of you for your support and for your commitment. And for those of you that use the QR code that's posted on Facebook or on YouTube, we thank all of you. The link provided on YouTube. We thank you all for your continued support and for your commitment as we fulfill our commitment to God to be here for you in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. So I want to say to all of our listeners and viewers, I want to remind everyone before we get into today's broadcast further, we are in the midst of our monthly FijiWater.com sponsored promo. So all you have to do is go to our internet radio station, WKAPfaith.com. Again, WKAPfaith.com. The first three songs you hear at 11 a.m. or at 6 p.m., list those songs, text them along with your name and email address to the T-Mobile caller text line at 267-992-1424. We will then select a listener and viewer from all of our listeners and viewers in the U.S. We'll be doing something for the international viewers at a later time in the fourth quarter. But all you have to do is text that information, first three songs you hear. The more you tune in at 11 a.m., we want you to stay tuned in 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. However, at 11 a.m. or 6 p.m., the first three songs you hear, text them along with your name, email address to the T-Mobile caller text line at 267-992-1424. Now, the more you text those list of songs and your name and email address, the more opportunities you have to be selected. So we're going to be selecting a winner next week. We know that God has been doing so many amazing things at New Life. So, our schedule's been a little different right now, and that's why we're doing 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. or 12:30 p.m. to 1 p.m. But stay with us. It's only your only responsibility is to just make certain you monitor to be tuned in when we broadcast every day, scheduling permitted. So some of you've heard me, well, all of you've heard me say this. Some of you have really given me some feedback on the fact that, okay, I announced that Rebecca, instead of the first Thursday of the month, Rebecca Buba would be live with us on Friday of this week. And then I got some communications from some of you. Many of you heard me mention that I had gotten a clean bill of health this year and that I had lost some weight. And some of you began sending emails and asking questions. So before Becca joins us, I'm going to go through some of that. You wanted to know, you asked the question, how did I do it? So let me begin by saying this. There's no gimmicks here. There's no tricks, smoke and mirrors, none of that. Here's the reality. I made some significant changes. When I say significant for me, I made some significant changes in my eating habits. So, Becca has gone through, BeccaTheDietitian.com has gone through a litany of things that we could do, eating habits, because she's a licensed dietitian and nutritionist. So she talked about the things we should be eating, the things we shouldn't be eating that are going to have an impact on our health and wellness or are going to enhance our health and wellness. And so some of that information for me, I took to heart and I made some changes. So I'm less carb oriented. I'm going to start there. I'm less carb oriented. I'm more protein oriented. And part of that is because of the fact that I'm getting older. Now, no matter what age you are, we're all going to need protein. We're all going to need less carbs. So less consumption of carbs, more protein is going to translate into a healthier eating lifestyle. So I'll run through some of that with you. In the process of that, I continued exercising. So you talk about, diet and exercise. And I have to tell you, none of us have an excuse, because I know what busy is. I have been, to God be the glory, extremely busy realistically for the entire summer. I've been extremely busy. And because God's been doing so many great things that we continue to live and move and have our being in him. And we continue to do everything that God assigns us to do. And so new things have been added to my schedule. So I had to make some adjustments. I haven't been able to play as much golf as I would like to play. I haven't been able to, run as much as I would normally run, but I've been consistent with exercising. So I'm lifting weights. I'll run through this with you. So I've been focusing on some abs. And as you know, when you have spinal problems, you have to be careful what you do. But I've learned some new exercises that I could do to focus on my abs, I've been focusing on squats. I've been focusing on my quads, my hamstrings. And the reason is because I'm going to be running a half marathon in November. So I needed to really focus on eating right because I've been busy in some other areas. So, I encourage everyone, in addition to changing your diet, your nutritional intake, focus on getting some exercise. If you're not able to, my wife and I were laughing about this, and I'll get to that in a little further in a moment, but my wife and I were laughing about the fact that, we haven't been able to hit the gym as often as we normally would, but I've been working out at home. So we do have a total gym. There's a lot of flex. We have weights. So I've been lifting weights. There's a lot of floor exercises that we can do. And that is just really to keep the muscle strong. But in addition to making those changes in my eating habits, I've lost, I mentioned to some of you, I lost some weight, 14 pounds to be exact, in realistically in the last month and a half. Since the beginning of August, the last month and a half, I've lost 14 pounds. And it's not anything other than, but I haven't lost any muscle. And the reason is because I'm continuing to work out. It's all been a change of my eating habits. So I've been focused on my protein. I've been less focused on carbs. So I'm not eliminating carbs. I've just reduced my carb intake. And so consequently, it's allowed me to experience a loss of weight. In addition to that, I've been very focused on getting my rest at the end of the day so that my metabolism has the opportunity to pace itself. So I'm really committed to staying in this place that I'm in right now. And it's simply just making some tweaks, some changes in my eating habits. There's no magic to this. It really is about diet and exercise. So I seriously say to all of you, you don't have to beat yourself up. You don't have to stop eating. You don't have to starve yourself. It's just a matter of changing what we're taking in. So all of you have known me for a very long time. I enjoy good food, but I have the tendency to be a convenience eater. What that means is when I'm busy and I have a lot of meetings and I have a packed schedule, if I haven't had time to eat what my wife has cooked, then I'm ordering. I'm ordering something. I'm stopping at a restaurant. I'll order in at the office. I'll go stop at a restaurant. If I have a lunch meeting, I'll eat generally a salad with protein on it. But I say all of that to say, one of the things that I haven't been doing as much of is eating out. Part of that is because, I said to my wife, I'm going to make this commitment to, now that I got a clean bill of health, maintaining the clean bill of health. So I have really focused on, okay, what's my schedule look like according to what she prepares? Because it drives her crazy that I will eat in a restaurant or order in the office continuously, because she tells me all the time it's not healthy for me because they don't prepare their food the same way. Now, we all like to have an experience of dining out from time to time, but the reality is, her message to me has always been, you're never going to have a healthier meal than what she prepares at home. So that's the bottom line. So I've been conscious about making certain that whatever she prepares, I'm going to eat, as opposed to hitting the restaurants or ordering in at the office. That was a change that I had to make, and it's worked. I have reduced my bread intake. I love sourdough bread, but I went from sourdough bread to eating wheat bread long ago. Every now and then a little sourdough doesn't hurt, but I have made a commitment that I'm just not going to eat white bread anymore. So I went to wheat. Then I cut down from 2 slices a day to 1 slice a day. Now I've pretty much eliminated bread from my diet, except for maybe once a week. And that's a big change for me. Desserts, pretty much have eliminated them from my diet, but every now and then, once again, in moderation, I may have something, but I'm not going to focus on that as I did in the past, because I love desserts with a good meal. You just got to make some changes, and you've got to be committed to making those changes if we're going to make certain that we remain healthy. And so that's been my method. I promise you, there's no tricks to this. There's no gimmicks to this. It's just making change, a lifestyle change, a dietary change, a health, being just aware and conscious of everything we're doing in our health. So I'm going to encourage everyone, make the changes that you can make that are comfortable for you and you will see the difference. And I mentioned that I've been staying with, I thought I was a pound and a half, and then I realized it's about two. I used to give myself a 5 pound range. Now I'm at a 2 pound range. I weigh myself every day, and it allows me to really monitor where I am. So I'm really in that 2 pound range now of where I want my weight to remain. So I'm going to stay there, and I'm going to increase my workouts, because now I'm making some final adjustments in my schedule for the remainder of the academic year for students, which just began. So, we just have to be conscious. We have to be aware of what we want to accomplish. And remember, I always say, what do you want to accomplish personally? What do you want to accomplish professionally? And then we have to make certain that we work smarter goals, that we set goals and we work smarter goals. We focus on what we want to accomplish, and you will be amazed of what God will do in our lives, because all things work together for the good for those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. And if you know your purpose, one of the things you will truly recall me saying, and I didn't make this up, but health is wealth. And the healthier we are, the more opportunity we have to tap into the mercy of God and experience the fullness of God in all of our lives. This segment of the broadcast is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. So if you are not currently a T-Mobile customer, you may call or text on the T-Mobile call or text line at 267-992-1424. We will move you into our queue so that you may become a T-Mobile customer and experience America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. Taxes and fees are included in your bill, and if you auto pay by attaching a credit card to your account, you will receive a discount on your monthly bill. At T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G provider at no extra charge. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that the holidays are the toughest time for you regarding eating habits. So, you all have flooded me with communications about, and I know it's because Becca, the dietitian, will be with us today, and we're all trying to focus on what we can do to enhance our health and wellness. So you indicated holidays are a difficult time for you. You want to know, how do you control your eating habits during the holidays? So the first thing I'm going to say to you is this. If you know that you have a difficult time controlling your eating habits during the holidays, which are going to be coming up very soon, and I'm going to make another announcement in a moment, but you know that you struggle during the holidays. You said something in your communication, and one of the things I will tell you is that you cannot overeat. Once upon a time, particularly Thanksgiving, then again at Christmas, we all had the tendency to, put on some sweatpants and and a t-shirt perhaps, and oversized one maybe, and we would sit down with family and friends to eat during the holidays. And particularly Thanksgiving, we would gorge ourselves on turkey. And I'm just keeping it real. This isn't for the people who have been holy minded and understand that gluttony is a sin, but here's the reality. We all would watch football and we'd eat, and then we'd eat again and watch some more football, and then we might let out the string on our sweats and relax, and we would just overeat. And I'm going to say to you, the way to address that is to just simply not overeat. One plate of food that is not overflowing over the holiday on Thanksgiving is just fine. You'll have Friday after Thursday on Thanksgiving to eat again. Maybe no more than 7 ounces of meat, which should fit in the palm of your hand. Keep the circumference of your plate from being filled with food, and maybe just put enough on the plate that you can eat and be comfortable and not overeat. You want to make certain that you are being conscious about not overeating. And then the other part of that is that you want to make certain that if you're an emotional eater, that you don't allow the emotions that happens to a lot of people during the holidays because they've lost loved ones. The truth of the matter is, I've changed my language about this over the years. We don't lose anyone if they're saved. If they have a relationship with Christ and they've sought out their salvation, we don't lose them because we know where to find them. The truth of the matter is they've departed and we miss their presence. Because they've departed and we miss their presence, sometimes our emotions during the holidays cause us to look for comfort. And we find comfort sometimes in food, often in food, because it makes us feel good. Pardon me. It makes us feel good. And so consequently, we sit, we eat, we watch football, we eat some more, we watch some more football, we eat some more. I'm going to encourage you to do this. Portion control is a methodology for ensuring that you don't overeat, that you don't allow your emotions to take over. Portion control means you have to have some self-control. You have to make certain that you do not pile more on your plate. You know, the old adage was back in the day was don't pile more on your plate than you could eat. But you don't need to pile enough on your plate that you'll overeat. You want to just make certain, matter of fact, let's do this, that you don't pile food on your plate, that you just put food on your plate that's going to give you a taste of everything that's been prepared for Thanksgiving, everything that's been prepared for Christmas, and limit it to one dessert. You might look around the table and see a lot of good desserts. Pick and choose the one you want to enjoy. Enjoy that one dessert today, and then come Friday, maybe enjoy another one. And then come Saturday, maybe enjoy another one. But just one dessert. And then at some point, you're going to have to decide the weekend is over, the holiday is over, I'm over it. Because if not, you'll continue to feed the sugar craving with the desserts. And that's primarily part of the issue also. You know, because of desserts, was really taking in too much sugar. And even though much of it was either raw sugar or brown sugar or whatever, whatever the case may be, I still was taking in sugar, which is never going to allow us to enhance our health and wellness. It's always going to be a problem. So I've eliminated much of the sugar from my diet. I don't eat a dessert every day when I eat now. As a matter of fact, I've pretty much eliminated desserts on a consistent basis to a treat once in a while over these last 6 weeks. And so now what I've gotten is results. And you'll see the results. Everybody's body's different. You may not see them as quickly, depending on how much you're working out. I've been burning a lot of calories working out, making it a real practice to burn a lot of calories working out. And I've gotten results. But God is not the respecter of persons. If you put in the work, you'll get results too. But we have to put in the work. We have to be willing to make the commitment to put in the work. So, you know, I'm going to encourage everyone, let's go on this journey together through the holidays. Let's make certain that we don't overeat. Let's make certain that we focus on our health and wellness through the holidays. I mentioned I'm going to be running a half marathon in November, so keep me in your prayers. But I will be running that, and I'm going to make the commitment to stay aware right through the end of the year, so that when the new year comes in, I can enter into the new year fit, healthy, and ready to excel. And before we are joined by BeccaTheDietitian.com, I'm going to remind all of our listeners and viewers that this segment of the broadcast has been brought to you by Charles Tyrwhitt, located in London, the UK. They also have stores in New York, Chicago, Washington, D.C., and at the King of Prussia Mall in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. So if you're in any of those areas, stop in at the retail stores. They have everything a man possibly needs: shirts for men, ties for men, suits for men, and accessories. I'm in Charles Tyrwhitt attire today, aside from the tie that I have on. However, they have everything that a man could possibly need. And the White Company, located in London, the UK. They also have a store on Fifth Avenue in New York. So if you're in New York, stop in at their retail store on Fifth Avenue. They have everything you could possibly need: home goods, clothing for men, women, and children. And if you're not in any of those areas, you can order from Charles Tyrwhitt at ctshirts.com. They will ship and deliver right to your front door in an appropriate period of time. And the White Company at thewhitecompany.com. They too will ship and deliver right to your front door in an appropriate period of time. Both companies are really offering some great discounts, so you don't want to miss them. Go to Charles Tyrwhitt at ctshirts.com and the White Company at thewhitecompany.com. I'm going to share with all of our listeners and viewers. So, as you know, we have monthly FijiWater.com sponsored program. We want everyone to stay hydrated. We want you to be healthy. And one of the things that I often remind everyone is that, you know, we should be drinking 50% of our body weight in water every day. We should try to get that in. There may be days that you won't get that in, but at least, you know, the old adage was 64 fluid ounces a day, you know, but I've read some articles from medical journals that say 50% of your body weight you should consume in water each day, and that will enhance your health and wellness. So we encourage everyone to drink Fiji water, Earth's finest water, with natural electrolytes. So go to FijiWater.com, subscribe, and you'll have a taste of paradise delivered right to your front door at FijiWater.com. And so we're in the midst of our FijiWater.com sponsored promo. Every month, all you need to do is go to our internet radio station any day of the week. We broadcast 7 days a week, 365 days a year, for 24 hours a day. We play music that will encourage you, empower you, and inspire you to become the best version of ourselves that we can possibly become. But the first 3 songs you hear at 11 a.m. or that you hear at 6 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, list those 3 songs, text them along with your name and your email address to the T-Mobile call or text line at 267-992-1424. One of our listeners and viewers will be selected to receive a case of Earth's finest water from FijiWater.com. Okay, so now, having said that to you, I want to make certain that we are clear on what it's going to take for us to enhance our health and wellness. As we always say, we want you to be whole. You know, that's what wholly truly is. I'm just using that as an analogy. We want you to be whole in your body, in your mind, and in your spirit. So being healthy in your mind means that we have to engage in some self-care. We have to make certain that we take time out every day to meditate. Think about the Word of God, what we know about the Word of God. Search the scriptures, rightly divide the truth. Don't seek to perform your own righteousness, seek the righteousness of God. So let's really meditate, 30 minutes a day. The Bible says in Revelations that all of heaven went silent for 30 minutes. So make certain that you meditate for 30 minutes a day. Make certain that you get some reading in, read the scriptures. You'll find in the book of Leviticus, it will tell you everything that we can eat that will help us with our health and wellness. But having said that, today, I know it's not Thursday. I know it's not the first Thursday of the month, but scheduling permitted, we will have with us today, BeccaTheDietitian.com. Rebecca Bouva, licensed and registered dietitian and nutritionist, who will be joining us today, scheduling permitted, to talk about our health and wellness. You know, Becca shared so much important information with us about our health and wellness. How do we ensure that we stay healthy? And what's really important is that we can navigate our health and wellness. And Becca is actually trying to join us right now. So I'm going to figure out what we need to do to get her in on this Zoomcast. But I'm, as you know, a little technology challenged. So just stay with me if you will, until we can get Becca in with us. And for some reason, I am not getting a read, but she is trying to join us. She is definitely trying to join us, and I'm going to make certain that she has what she needs to get in. And if you all will bear with me, and it's not her fault because I had a typo. So if you will just stay with me for one moment, so we can get Becca in to join us, because Becca has all the information we need to be healthy and to enhance our health and wellness. So she will be joining us in a moment. And until she is with us, I just want to remind everyone that our goal really has to be to just keep ourselves in a place where we're healthy in our body, we're healthy in our mind. But you also have to feed the spirit. You have to make certain that your spirit is right. So you want to pray and ask God to renew in you the right spirit. That's what you really want. You really want to make certain that you are in the right spirit at all times, so that it gives you the opportunity to be the best version of ourselves that we can possibly become. And Becca is joining us now with us right here in 3D. As always, BeccaTheDietitian.com. Becca, it's so good to see you. And I know I just told all of our listeners and viewers, I said, Becca is trying to get in. And unfortunately, I made a typo. It was a 1 instead of a 2. And Becca was trying to get in, and my fat fingers just would not allow her to get in. So Becca, thank you for being with us. It's great to see you. And our listeners have been waiting for you today.
Oh, I'm so excited to be back. Thank you so much for having me. And hey, better late than never. That's, at least we're here now.
Well, not just having you, Becca, you are our monthly contributor. As I explained to everyone, Becca does have a career also. So it's always scheduling permitted, but Becca is our monthly contributor. You all know that because you all love her. You tell me that continuously. So Becca, we're going to let you take it away. We've been here talking about, diet and nutrition because I made a comment. Of course, I shared with everyone you'd be with us today, and so I've gotten a lot of communications about health and wellness, and I had mentioned that I had took a lot of your advice, and I lost 14 pounds in the last 6 weeks.
Oh my gosh, incredible. Congratulations.
So thank you. So I want you to share I told them there's no tricks to this. If you just follow Becca's instructions and do all of the things that we know we need to do and be aware, Becca will make certain that we stay healthy and well. So Becca, take it away.
Definitely. Well, again, thank you for having me today. I do have a headset on. I apologize. There's some jackhammering in the background. So I wanted to make sure everything was heard loud and clear without any background distraction. But today I actually wanted to focus on a topic that is really important to me. Next week is Malnutrition Awareness Week. And with nutrition and health, a lot of people focus on being healthy, wanting to lose weight, wanting to live long and well. But malnutrition is something that affects a lot of people, and a lot of people might not even be aware of how prevalent it is and how big of an impact it can have on our health. So not only do we want to make sure we're eating the right things, but we also want to make sure we're eating enough of things that are really, really important, and kind of serve as the building blocks for our lives. So I have a couple definitions of malnutrition I wanted to share, just because I like to, you don't always think of it in the way that it can be totally captured. So a lot of times when you think of malnutrition, you think of someone who looks emaciated, extremely skinny, starving, not getting enough of food. But it's actually a lot more than that. So I want to kind of get into those definitions real quick here. So one of them is just, a dictionary definition. So lack of proper nutrition caused by not having enough to eat, not eating enough of the right things, or being unable to use the food that one does eat. And then we also have a definition of malnutrition from the World Health Organization, which is deficiencies, excesses, or imbalances in a person's intake of energy and or nutrients. So it can be from not eating enough, but it can also be from eating too much, and it can also be from eating the wrong balance of different types of nutrients. So it's a lot more complex than just starving and not getting enough of the food that you need. And really, there's three different contexts that malnutrition can occur in. So it can occur in an acute setting, which is when you have an injury or illness that's happening right here, right now. It can also happen in a chronic setting. So typically we see that with people who have chronic diseases like diabetes, heart disease, kidney disease. Those are illnesses that they affect you for quite a long period of time. And it might be not as severe immediately, but it goes on for quite a long period of time, and it can get severe over time as well. And then the third context of malnutrition is social or environmental, and that has a lot more to do with food access. So maybe you can't afford to eat good foods or the right foods. You don't have the ability to shop or cook for yourself, or it could even be that you live in an area that's a food desert where there's just a complete lack of food, or a food swamp, which is there's food around, but it's not the kind of food that we want to be eating on a regular basis. So there's a lot of nuances. It's not, the big thing is that it's not just people who are underweight. It can also happen to people who are overweight or obese. And just because you're eating the same amount of food doesn't mean you're exempt either. So if you have absorption issues, so if you have a condition where maybe you have diarrhea for weeks or months at a time, even though you're eating normally, maybe you might not be absorbing those nutrients the same way. And then people with chewing or swallowing difficulties, they could also become at risk for malnutrition, just because with not being able to chew fully, you might not be digesting foods in the right way. And certainly with swallowing issues, if there's a concern for taking in the right amount of foods with that too. So I'll just pause before I go on. Any questions that you have, Pastor Pope?
That's very interesting, Becca. I really want you to spend some time unpacking each of those categories, because this is really powerful. You made a comment, though, that I had picked up on right away, and that is food swamps. Had not heard that term before. So I'm wondering if all of our listeners and viewers have heard that before also, because I've never heard of that term. So kind of explain to all of our listeners and viewers what exactly that is, how it impacts our health and wellness.
Yeah. So, and this is actually a new term to myself too. I just recently learned this. Um,
Nice.
and, I think of the city of Philadelphia, which is where I live. There's a lot of neighborhoods where there's plenty of food options around. There's corner stores, there's fast food restaurants, but there's not a grocery store and there's not anywhere to get fresh produce that's walkable or within one
Mhm.
or two bus routes. So, those are the types of places. It's not that there's a lack of food, it's just that there's a lack of nutritious,
Yes,
healthful foods available. So,
yes.
maybe not, you don't have a good produce department. There's lots of very, more so affordable, but like fast food options that, they have a lot of salt, they have a lot of fat, they have a lot of calories. That's not the type of food that we should be nourishing ourselves with on a regular basis. So a swamp means there's a lot of stuff, but it's not good stuff, just like a
Yes,
swamp.
and that's interesting because we all think about the food deserts, but we don't think about the fact. And although I did mention a little earlier, one of my challenges when I'm extremely busy is I would always either I order food into the office or I stop at a restaurant. That's not the healthiest choices, to eat out, period. But
Right, right.
you eat out more for an experience instead of just, out of necessity or out of convenience. And I think that's where a lot of us get into trouble with, just having the right diet, being aware of the right diet. So thank you
Yeah,
for sharing
absolutely.
that. Now, if you would unpack each of those categories, because I think you shared with us about the food swamp, but if you could just really talk to us more also about this is an excellent topic, the malnutrition, because we
Yeah.
think of that in terms of people being, as you said, being um, not in a position to eat and nourish their body. But that isn't the only answer to malnutrition or the only
Right.
problem.
Right. Yeah. So those three different categories, there's acute, chronic, and then social or environmental. And acute, I'll go into a little bit more detail. This is whenever you have um, it may be a life-threatening illness or injury that's occurring. You have to go to the hospital. It's a new issue, or maybe you've had it before, but it happens in isolated incidents, and you need immediate medical attention essentially for it. Versus a chronic illness, you're not necessarily needing to be in the hospital every day for that, but it's still something that's affecting you every day over a long period of time. So acute illness could be you go to the hospital because you have pneumonia, or you go to the hospital because you have some sort of other infection. That's more of an acute injury or illness. And those are just a couple examples. There's
Yes.
many, many reasons why you might have to go to the hospital for an acute illness or injury. And then chronic illness is more so, like I mentioned before, you might have diabetes, you might have heart disease or heart failure, you could have kidney disease, maybe you're on dialysis. Those are conditions that are more, they're serious, but that you can survive and you don't need immediate medical attention right away.
And
Um,
you can actually help people to manage those on a
Definitely. Yeah.
continuous
Yeah.
basis because
Working with the dietitian is a great way to manage those diseases and also prevent malnutrition. And the reason that the I want to kind of call out the chronic
Mhm.
context of malnutrition, just because, a lot of these nutrition related diseases,
Yes.
it's about eating the right amounts of certain nutrients. So I think of, congestive heart failure or heart failure, for instance. With this population of people, we have to be very, very conscious of not eating too much salt, for instance, because
Okay.
if you eat too much salt, it's going to cause you to retain fluid, which makes it a lot harder for your heart to pump and a lot harder for, your body to breathe and to do all these other things it needs to do. So for that, you've got a lot of people that eat too much salt just because there's
Yes.
salt in a lot of foods. So that's going to be a
Particularly
factor.
in chips. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, definitely in potato chips, that's sure, any kind of chips. So if you're eating too much of that nutrient over time, it's going to make that condition worse. And it's also going to create this state of inflammation in your body, which is also going to increase your risk of malnutrition. So there's
Mm.
a whole lot of other things going on. And people with chronic illnesses, are probably the highest at risk for malnutrition, just because most people don't think of it in that context. So it's
Right.
hard to be aware that this is something you need to be paying attention to. But it's very easy for it to spiral out of control, and just get worse and worse. And sometimes in that state, your body might be saying, I'm not hungry, I don't want to eat. But that's just an effect of the disease process. And that doesn't mean your body actually doesn't need those nutrients.
Mhm.
And then it just, it's very easy for it to snowball and get worse and worse and worse. And then as you have malnutrition, it becomes a lot harder for your body to do its normal functions, fight infection, and just, be well. So
Yeah.
it's very easy for it to get out of control. So malnutrition in general is associated with higher hospital costs, longer hospital stays, more likely to be readmitted to the hospital, increased risk of death when you're in the hospital, and also increased infection risk. So all of these, nobody wants these things to be happening.
Right.
And of course, it costs a lot of money to deal with all these different conditions. So if we can prevent malnutrition, we can save a lot of money and you can live a lot better. And if you have to go to the hospital for some reason, you're probably going to fare a lot better when you're there if you're not malnourished. So, yeah, there's a
So
lot
there's
there
a
to
lot to
unpack.
unpack there. Absolutely, because these are things we don't think about. And if we, I say this all the time, Becca gives us excellent information to really bring up our level of awareness, learn how to make the adjustments that are necessary for us to be healthy and to be well. And so, Becca, I want you to continue to unpack, because this is really powerful. I'm so glad you're with us today, as always. This is something that we all need to enhance our health and wellness. So please.
Yeah, so I will keep going. So I'm going to kind of just shout out some facts here for, who does this mainly affect? So any adults across the hospital care setting, whether you be in the hospital, in a rehab hospital, in a long-term care, in a nursing home, anything like that, malnutrition ranges from a third to 3 out of 10 to 4 out of 10 people can be affected by malnutrition in any of those settings. But it's also more common in people who are older. So if you're 85 or older, you have the highest risk of malnutrition, but it also increases as you age. So young people are going to be less likely to develop malnutrition. Middle-aged people, not very likely, but a little bit more likely. People maybe like 50 to 65 to 70 to 80, a lot more likely. And then 85 plus has the greatest likelihood of developing malnutrition. And then up to 80% of cancer patients are at risk or may have malnutrition. And an interesting fact that I just learned today is that 20% of patients with cancer don't die because of their cancer. They die because of malnutrition or some related factor to that. So that's a big chunk of people. That's 1 out of 5. Yeah. 1 out of 5 people with cancer aren't dying from cancer. They're dying from malnutrition. That's a lot. So cancer patients, the elderly, people with critical illnesses. So if you're in the hospital, in the ICU or another higher level of care, you're going to be at increased risk. And the other scary thing about malnutrition is that only half of the people that are diagnosed are receiving appropriate care. And there's also a lot of people who aren't being diagnosed. So that's scary. That's really scary. And that has to do with just the fact that, our healthcare systems are overwhelmed. Our doctors are overworked. Our nurses are overworked. Dietitians are overworked. Everybody is just, at full capacity.
Yes.
So if you can be aware of these things and do things to help yourself and advocate for yourself and your health or your family members, that's going to make a difference. So it is important to be aware, know what to do, know the signs and symptoms, know who's more or less at risk so that you can take care of yourself in that way. So a few things to look out for, just, to see if maybe you or your loved ones are at risk of malnutrition. If you've experienced an unplanned or unexpected weight loss, if you have a loss of appetite, if you're not able to eat or can only eat in small amounts, if you've been feeling extremely tired or weak. And then also another symptom that you wouldn't necessarily think of is if you have swelling or fluid accumulation, maybe in your ankles and your hands or other parts of your body. So that can be another sign of malnutrition. And then we talked about those different conditions and age groups who are more or less likely, but also thinking about if you have chewing or swallowing issues, that's going to put you at risk. If you have absorption issues, or if you have poor access to healthful foods or aren't able to shop or cook for yourself, those are going to be all red flags that you should be on high alert for.
So one of our listeners and viewers, a text that I just received, and Becca answered the question. You wanted to know, how do you know if you're malnourished? And she just reviewed all of the symptoms that occur. And when you think about it, you may have experienced some of those at different intervals and not noticed. And that's why what Becca's sharing with us is so important, because we've got to bring up our level of awareness. That's a very, very interesting topic today, Becca. I know we hadn't had an opportunity to talk about what you were going to teach us today, but this is really powerful, because this is something that will have either a negative impact on our health and wellness or a positive impact. If we're aware, we can get positive results. If we're not aware, we're going to suffer. So we really have to take into consideration. Now, I know I mentioned that I lost some weight, but it was planned. So Becca mentioned it was my intention to just be healthy. But in that, we also have to, in addition to diet, exercise. You've got to make certain that we're getting some exercise. So Becca, I'm going to put you on the spot, because
all right.
I know that I announced to everyone, Becca's now eating for two.
Yep.
And so she is expecting. And so Becca, would you share with our listeners and viewers what you're doing as far as diet and nutrition to be healthy, you and baby Uva?
Yeah, definitely. So it's been quite a change, but I am trying my best.
Tell us about the change.
So
you said it's quite a change.
Yeah, quite a change. So I'm trying, my belly's getting pretty big now. So my movement's a little inhibited, but I'm trying to stay moving as much as possible. Lots of walking, still exercising, but my exercise routine has changed up a little bit. Drinking lots and lots of fluids, trying to drink so many fluids throughout the day, mainly water, maybe a mocktail here or there, some lemonade, some things like that, just to, keep it a little interesting. But I'm doing a lot of the same things food wise that I would do before. So lots of fresh produce, fruits and vegetables with every meal and snack, trying to avoid processed foods, but also giving myself a little grace, because, I have a lot going on, lots of changes happening. So also trying not to put added pressure to be perfect and do all these things that I know I should be doing, but I can't. And, it's tough, but really, a lot of the same stuff. So lean proteins, healthy fats, and fiber is a really big thing in pregnancy too, just to kind of keep things moving along and prevent any unwanted side effects from happening. So,
excellent. Well, I'm excited to see baby Uva Turner. But let me ask this question, because I think this will help all of our listeners and viewers to understand when we talk about exercise. You said you changed up your exercise routine. Now, I know a lot about your exercise, but could you share with our listeners and viewers how your exercise routine has changed?
Yeah. So, what stayed consistent is the walking. I have, a very active dog, so I have to walk him 2 to 3 times a day. So we cover between probably 12, mostly like 12,000 steps a day, which has remained consistent. So definitely being active there. Now, in terms of the exercise I'm doing, I used to be, running a lot. I just did the marathon last fall. I have had to switch over to more low impact cardio. So I've been doing a lot more bike riding, stationary bikes. I was having some low back pain, so I had to kind of take a break from heavy weightlifting and switch to more body weight exercises. But I have been keeping up with yoga, Pilates, those types of strengthening exercises too.
So what's interesting about that is expectant mother, still exercising
Mhm.
to stay healthy for mother and baby. And
Exactly.
that's important. Exercise is an important factor for all of our lives continuously. And
Mhm.
I happen to know, and I've always told all of you, Becca's she's always been the picture of health. So she does work out consistently. And one of the keys to success in everything we do is about being consistent. Just being consistent every single day, understanding the importance of that consistency. So, we're excited about Becca's pregnancy and about baby Buva Turner coming in and all of that. So I wanted you to share with our listeners and viewers, because nothing really has to stop you from good diet and exercise. Doesn't
Definitely.
matter our age, doesn't matter, for ladies who are expectant mothers, it doesn't matter. It's just what we do to maintain good health and good wellness. So all of these tips that Becca shares with us are extremely important. So let's make certain that we are doing what's necessary to enhance our health and wellness. Now, I want Becca to give us some parting information. We still have about 5 minutes for the broadcast. Before we do that, I just have to make one announcement to do a little business for our sponsors. This segment of the broadcast is brought to you by Comcast Business. We all need to be more effective and efficient in business. Call Eunice at Comcast Business at 603-222-7706. Your code is Pastor Pope. And with the qualifying gig bundle, you will receive up to an $800 prepaid Visa gift card. That's Eunice at Comcast Business at 603-222-7706. Your code is Pastor Pope. So, Becca, I want to make sure that before we end the broadcast today, that you have an opportunity to share with our listeners and viewers about the upcoming holidays, if you will. Because prior to you joining us at 12:30, we were talking about the holidays coming up, because one of our listeners and viewers indicated that, holidays are a tough time. I really talked a little bit about, not overeating, being conscious of that, being aware of that. And, sometimes people emotionally eat over the holidays because, they experience the loss of loved ones, whatever the emotion might be. But can you give our listeners and viewers, and particularly the one that asked that question, some methodology to make sure that you don't overeat during the holidays and maintain good health and wellness? And I shared my portion, what I thought would be good for us. So now I'm going to talk to the professional. Okay.
Yeah. So I would say, especially if you're concerned about the emotional eating aspects, know your triggers. If you know that the
Mm,
holidays are a tough time of year for you, maybe it might be a good time to kind of get ahead of things at this point and come up with some coping mechanisms. Keep the food out of your house. Maybe set up some appointments with a therapist to address those emotional issues so that they don't translate into overeating and other problems like
mm.
that. So that would be my first piece of advice. Second is just, really trying to listen to your body and listen to your hunger cues. So check in with yourself. Am I physically, I think we've talked about this before. Am I physically hungry or am I emotionally hungry? If you're physically hungry, you're going to have symptoms like a growling stomach. Your stomach is empty. We don't want to hopefully be to the point of being overly hungry where we're shaky or anything like that. But,
Right.
check in with yourself and see where you fall on the hunger scale. Is my stomach empty? Is it full? Is it neutral? Where am I at? And then if we're not hungry physically, is this emotional hunger? What could be triggering this? What is something I could do instead of eating to take my mind off of the food and distract it in some other way? Could I clean the house? Could I go outside for a walk? Could I, read a book? Anything. And
Exercise.
exercise. Yeah. I mean, if it's
Yes.
something productive, that's even better. That's an even better way to distract yourself. So those are, trying to address those emotional things, knowing your body, knowing your hunger cues. If you are out of touch with your hunger cues, which a lot of people can be, sometimes for whatever reason, whether it be, maybe it's inflammation, maybe it's, um, metabolism issues,
Mm.
maybe you have a history of some eating disorders, and your body doesn't give those same signals of when it's hungry. You might need to rediscover what those are for your body. And
Excellent.
with that, I would say definitely work with a registered dietitian, who can kind of help you address some of those issues and rediscover. There's a great book on intuitive eating, it's called. And I can't remember the author, but it just kind of teaches you how to be in touch with your hunger cues or rediscover your hunger cues. So you can say, all right, yes, this is an appropriate time for me to eat, or no, this is not an appropriate time for me to eat. So those are big.
Excellent.
And then of course, just making sure you're eating regular meals that are satisfying and filling. Lots of
Excellent.
fiber, lots of
Yes,
protein,
yes,
all that good stuff,
absolutely,
and
absolutely.
hydration.
Yes. And that's going to help us to enhance our health.